Alright y'all, so we're restoring the Jaguar today. We're going to remove the seats. It's pretty much the same protocol on both sides. So we got the passenger seat here. So the first thing you want to do, you want to remove, there'll be a Phillips head screw right here. Once you remove that Phillips head screw, your seat should pop out. A little bit of work. Okay, so then you can see the bracket's pretty straightforward. I've already kind of done most of the work. Oh, you're gonna have to take these springs off the bottom of the seat when it comes off, but that's really easy. So the next thing you're gonna do is you're gonna take off this bolt. It's a T40. There's 4 of them, so you're gonna do the front, then you're gonna pull the seat forward, and then you do the 2 in the back, and then that takes the front seat out. And then we're gonna work on the driver's side seat, which is the same protocol to get the seat off the rails, and then I'll show you the rails. Okay, so now we're working on the rear seats of this Jag. The rear seats are really easy to pull out. There's gonna be a Phillips head right here, screw, and you just undo that screw on this side. And then if you can follow me over here, turn it in a little bit. There's another Phillips head right over here that you gotta undo. Now, this one was seized in for me, so I end up getting a cut saw and cutting the screw out. But you just got to get that screw out. Mine was seized in real bad. So once I was able to cut that screw out and take that screw out, you can take these rear seats straight out of here. Pops right out. Okay, so now we're going to take these front seats out. Now these front seats only have 2 bolts holding them in. There's a bolt dead center on both seats. I believe it's a 13mm bolt. You're going to take both out. They're really long, so take your time. And once you take them both out, there are 4 hooks on the back of the seats, 2 on the edges and 2 in the middle. What you have to do is pull the seats out a little bit and push them straight up, and now take them off the hooks. As you see, the seats come right off. Now that you have got the seats out, you gotta take the seat belts just out of place so you can take off this top trim. So all you're gonna need is a 16mm bolt, 16mm bolt with a short extension, and you'll be able to take this top bolt off of the seat belt bracket, which is right here. Seat belt bracket, 16mm bolt, and then you can take those off, and then you'll be able to get to all of this trim here. This trim, for the most part, just pops out. There are 2 hidden screws for me, so there are 2 hidden screws, one right here and one right here, which you can still see it's in place. I couldn't see these. I ended up just pulling the trim straight forward, and it just left the screw in place because I couldn't see what was holding it down. But there is a screw here, a screw here, and the rest of this trim, for the most part, after you get the seats and the seat belt brackets off, the rest of this trim just comes right on up. There's nothing else holding this trim down up in here. Be careful of the third brake light. It's probably really delicate, so be careful not to knock this off, because these are hard to replace. And that's how you take off the rear trim and the rear seats. All right, so we are working on the fronts, the driver's seat now, and like I said earlier, you're going to follow the same method to removing the seat as you would on this. It's going to be here. It's going to be 4 T40 screws. Pull the seat forward, do the back, pull the seat back, do the fronts. You'll get that off, the seat off. Take this off. You can undo, this is the power for the seat, and then there's going to be a socket here for the motor. This just raises the seat up and down. Now the hardest part is to get to these screws in here. There's going to be 4 screws again. 1, 2, 3, 4. You're going to need a special bit to get to them. This is a T40, but it's a long T40. You can get this from Harbor Freight. It only comes in the set, unfortunately. This thing's about 30 bucks. So you're gonna need this long T40 bit to get down in that hole and undo it. And then this whole bracket should come up out the car, and then we can remove the rest of this carpeting. Okay. The whole goal is we want to understand what the floor looks like, because I've already pushed out a lot of these rusted floor plugs. And I'm gonna show you what some of them look like later on. And then this is what the new plug is gonna end up looking like. I was able to fit one of these in there, and I'll tell you where I got these and what you're gonna have to do to get them in here. It's a pain in the ass, but you gotta plug these holes. All right. So all right. Well, that's how you take off the driver's seat. Pretty simple. And that's how you take off the driver motor rails. I guess you can call them electric rails. All right. Thank you. All right. So I am working on trying to get all this carpet out of here. So we need to understand what the floorboards look like. So far we got the seats out, and I got some of that center console trim out. It's all pretty simple. We can go over that in another video. But the biggest thing holding this carpet in at this point, the center floor is actually more like just a pad that you can just pull right up. This carpeting, you're going to have to loosen this seat belt, 16mm bolt, loosen that up. There's a bracket over top of the seat belt, just 2 Phillips screws. Take that off. And this is unique. They pinched the leather into the pinch well of the frame. So as you can see, these black clips holding this in is literally, it's pinched right. It would be pinched into the pinch well of the frame. So once you undo that, you can move this enough to be able to pull the carpet off the side here. You are going to have to take the Jaguar door seals off. That's just 2 to 3 Phillips head screws, and you can take the door seal off, and then you can have access to pull this carpet out. Okay. That's what's under the door seal, this piece here. You can take this off too. This is also just a couple of Phillips head screws. Of course, you got to take the seats out. On this side, you got to undo this 16mm bolt for the seat belt, and that you can start to pull off the carpet trim here. And then there's 2 Phillips head screws here. They're probably seized in. They're really good. So we'll figure out how to take those out here in a second. And then the rest of this carpet should pull right on out. As I was saying, the carpet trim should come right from under the center console, but we do need to take the center console out. I believe to take the center console out, there's a specific method with those dials right by the radio to get the remaining screws out. But the center console does have just a couple of Phillips head screws on either side. There's one in this ballpark and one over here, and then these trim panels come out, and then that loosens this up a little bit. And then there's 4 screws inside the center console, all Phillips head, that come out, and that loosens this up some more. So next up, we got to do I'll show you how to pull the switches off, and we'll take the remainder of this center console out. And the carpet is pretty much the same. That's what the seatbelt bracket looks like I was referring to. That's going to come off. Same procedure on that side. Everything's glued in pretty tight, so it's going to be a pain to pull it all out. But we have to pull it out so we can understand how much rust we got to work with here. Alright, so I'm trying to pull the center console out now. So once you got all the other screws out that I showed you, the next screws you got to take out is after this radio. To get this radio out, you got to pull these knobs off, and in there's a turnable nut. So once we turn that nut on both sides, there's one on this side too, you just give it a good pull. You see? Once we do that, we can pull this radio out and have access to the screws that hold this in. So I'll be right back. I mean, there's no special way to do this. I have a pair of these. I'm gonna try, and we'll give it a whirl. There it goes, it's coming, it's coming. faceplate should just somehow just come off. Unplug this. I need to kind of get up.
Shout out to your wife for recording.
All right. So now there's 4 bolts, 4 screws, 4 Phillips. 2 below the radio and 2 above the radio, and then that should loosen up the center console, and we can pull it right out of the car. Of course, it's super tight. There we go. Come up with some fresh screws for this and match the thread depth and length. So you know that tool I asked you for? It would help me with these long ass screws.
The impact wrench?
It's like an impact, but it's just for like stuff like this.
This the battery operated one.
Yeah. It wouldn't be so manual. There's some water that got over here too. How long a screw do you need for this?
I think those are connected.
Yep. Turns out, no, they're not, but
you gotta unscrew something else.
Yep. In a second here, you're gonna see how dark the wood originally was. When you look at the wood trim underneath this black vinyl. What makes it difficult is that none of this stuff has been touched since it went in.
Which I guess is a good and bad thing, huh?
Yeah. Let's get some more. Screws from this angle. There's no way I can get to either one of those. So now undo the computer. Alright, let's start taking some of this stuff apart. I've already taken photos, so I know what goes where at the end of the day. Yeah, looks like that just comes straight out. Oh, they come, I think these things come out. Yeah, they come out. They're vertically installed. That's interesting. It's vertical. There we go. There's the trim piece out. Now it looks like now this should be two different pieces, but it looks like they're one, at least at this point. And I'm gonna have, there's two more Phillips head screws in here, and that looks like that should loosen this right on up. And there we go. Figure that out later. So we've got it loosened up, and here's a rare find. You can see the color of this wood when it was first coming off the line. It just wasn't that exposed to sunlight, so it didn't clear the varnish or yellow the varnish like you see here or falling off. So it was like a really dark, looks like a maple burr or burr oak. So that's what it used to look like. Hopefully we can get it like that again. Alright, we gotta just sort through these wires here. It's a lot of them. It's like there's something holding it down here. Not quite sure what that is.
I think you need to come look over here.
Yeah. It's a wire set that's pulled through. They pulled it through the, okay, so I see what it is. Would you look at that? They just, these are master wires. Okay, imagine that.
What does that mean?
The wires that connect to this can easily be just disconnected. Not on this side. This side's a mess. Okay. It's zip locked. This wire chain has been zip locked. Alright. All right, Chop Shop fam, I got a bunch of zip locks. It looks like I'm sure this probably happened in the factory, but there's a zip lock. So there's a wire going through the bottom here. There's 1, 2, 3 zip locks I gotta break real quick, and then I'll be right back. I'm sure that's about the only thing holding this thing in place. And I gotta feed these wires. It's like they ran the wires through the console on the back side right here. So I'm gonna unfeed that and I'll be right back. Okay, so I got the center console out, as you can see. So a couple of notes that I just learned. When you're to pull the wires out of the center console, undo these right here. There's 3 of them. This big one, this little one, and then these right here. It's like 2 little ones, 2 more little ones. So undo that, and then you can pull the whole wire set. You can pull this whole wire set out at one time, out of that center console, and that'll make life super easy. Okay. On the other side, you can just pull the wires right out of the center console, and you'll be in good shape. So, yep. And watch out for this. This is some fiber optics for the lighting. So that bulb that came out. So let's make sure that goes back in, and center console's out. Okay. And we got all the carpeting out. So the next step is we're going to clean up the floorboards real good, and clean up the rust and paint it. Put some rust remover, and then we're going to put some fresh plugs in all these floor plugs. All right, next.